Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, let me share my screen. I'm going to begin with a disclaimer that I'm not really here to share wisdom or teach anything, because AI is learning from everything that we input, and we're going to be learning too. And we're in the business of learning. So it's going to be one long learning process. Okay. So I'm not really here to teach. I'm here to share my observations. Okay. All right. Hello and welcome. So we're going to talk about AI-enabled instructional design. And very deliberately, you can see the strike through on effortless. That was clickbait, by the way. We wanted a lot of registrations. I'm sure effortless rings a lot of bells, right? So ticks a lot of boxes rather. So everyone's on the bandwagon for what is effortless. But I must say that AI-enabled instructional design is not really effortless. It does reduce your effort on a lot of repetitive tasks, but it's not. I have a problem with the word effortless, okay? Because somehow it sounds like a cheat sheet or like a shortcut. I want to make it very clear. I want to reiterate this multiple times that AI is not really a shortcut for the ID process, but it's a tool that will help you elevate the ID process. So at all phases of the ID life cycle. And what you're going to end up with is effective, efficient, of course, but more effective learning design. That's my take on AI-enabled instructional design. I'd like to start with a huge, huge shout out to all instructional designers. So instructional designers of the world, take a bow. I think instructional design is a very, very significant job that we do, okay? Your work, I'm an instructional designer at heart. At my core, I'm an instructional designer, irrespective of the role that I may play, irrespective of my role in any organization. I am fundamentally and will always remain an instructional designer. Your work is a true craft, okay? It's like metamorphosis. What we get is a content dump, and what we do with it and what we create out of it is this process of transformation, like you'd see from a caterpillar to a butterfly. So I think it's very, very significant, the job that we do. Okay, I take this very seriously, and I love instructional design. And I love what AI can do, how we can leverage AI for instructional design. Okay? I must apologize. I'm just recovering from a throat infection, so you may have to bear with some sound effects along the way. Okay, let's dive in then. To put things in perspective, okay, there are two key aspects of instructional design as I see it. Okay, one is the mechanics, the nuts and bolts, the format, the components, content chunking, the standards, instructional text, all of that, right? Scenarios input. And then you have the dynamics of instructional design. This is the strategic part, right? This is where you're thinking, how you steer your content delivery, how you, marry the content, the learning objectives, the test items, all of this. How do you put all this together in a harmonious way, right? That's the dynamics of instructional design. Why are we talking about this? Because I first want to bust some myths, right? So we need to understand, just as it's important for us to pivot our role as instructional designers in the learning space, it is also important for us to understand where AI fits into this process. Okay, so in my view, AI, so the mechanics of instructional design, as we said, you can think of it as the IKEA furniture assembly part. Okay, just for an analogy. Lots of pieces, sometimes confusing instructions, but essential to creating something sturdy, robust. Okay? But the whole is not just the sum of these parts. Okay, the whole is a vision. The whole is what you have seen for this course to be, what the learning outcome is going to be. So the whole is a lot more than just the sum of these parts. Okay, that's the harmony that you bring in. Okay, this is where your expertise as an instructional designer truly shines. So what seems as nuts and bolts at the level of mechanics transforms into a whole, organized, arranged beautifully, justifying the learning outcomes, okay, all of that. So why I am reiterating this is because I want it to be known, and I want it to be well understood that the instructional designer, it's your prerogative. The course, how it turns out, what you do with it is both your prerogative as well as your responsibility. Okay, AI being the new buzzword is not a replacement for an instructional designer, or it's not something that you can offload your thinking to. You will still need to steer the boat. People may have concerns. AI might take our jobs. Not at all. AI is not there yet. Okay. Another concerning notion about AI in instructional design is that all you need to do is just add a few prompts and let AI do the rest. Neither fear nor complacency is going to come. Okay. So AI is your efficient assistant in the whole ID process. So while AI can handle the mechanics, so organizing your screws, finding missing parts, handing you the right tools, freeing up your mind space so that you can focus on the strategic part, crafting the perfect setup and achieving that whole. Okay, so that's my take on AI. And together, the instructional designer, along with her AI assistant, can turn out beautiful learning masterpieces. With that, some more myths. AI will replace instructional designers. We've already seen. Certainly not. AI is not there yet. And I don't think there's any substitute for human ingenuity or creativity. You can have tools that will increase productivity or maybe help you with your creative process, but not replace. AI generated content is far from perfect. Okay, it's another accountability measure that it's up to us instructional designers to validate everything, every output that we generate or derive from the AI platform. You can just set it and forget it. And if you do that, you can forget about your career, forget about instructional design as well. Okay. AI can only handle simple tasks. No, AI can really help you with complex components like branching scenarios or, complex, intricate interactivities. A lot of that AI can help you with, definitely. In fact, a lot more efficient than if you sat down to do it yourself. But again, the point would be what you want the activity to translate as, or the learning outcome that you are envisioning for this activity or for this scenario, or the components that you require in this scenario. All of that is something that you will need to envision first and include those into your prompts. With that, with effective prompting, you can really leverage AI for the most complex tasks in instructional design. AI is too complicated to use. I think all of us are pretty clear now that with natural language processing that AI can do, you can literally talk to it. Right? So it's not complicated at all. We are not, in this session, we're not really going to get into the features of the interface of various AI platforms, but most are very, very self-explanatory and really simple. I mean, almost deceptively simple. Okay. A few things that we need to keep in mind when we are using AI for instructional design. And I can't reiterate the guardrails. These are the guardrails that we need to keep in mind. And I can't reiterate them enough because it is so tempting to simply take the output as is and, ship it out. And it's equally tempting to just offload everything to AI. But it's very, very important to understand that finally, AI is a tool, a powerful one at that, really powerful. But the reins of any instructional project will still remain in your hands. Again, as I said, it's both a prerogative and a responsibility. Why? Because now that you have this powerful tool, you will have to up your game, right? We will now, as instructional designers, have to elevate the design strategies and steer the whole course towards higher order learning outcomes. That's a responsibility that we have. And finally, the creative process is in your hands. So we need to take charge of the entire creative process and rigorously validate AI output. Because every time we use AI output, we are training the AI. Okay? And if we are not going to be conscious about the output that we consume, AI is going to consider that as correct and go ahead. Okay, so looking out for stereotypes. Okay, pushing back the AI. All you need to do is avoid stereotypes. Put a constraint there. Say avoid stereotypes. Or when you recognize something that is insensitive, push back the AI to provide another better output. Okay, and when we are creating scenarios or when we are creating activities, we must be very aware of ensuring that there's enough diversity that our prompts generate. So it's in a sense, the prompts that we feed the AI is what we are training it for. So that's a sense of accountability that we have to work with. Those are fundamentals of instructional design, especially so in the AI era. With that, are you ready to turbocharge your ID process with AI? Before that, a little warm up. Okay. Instructional design is such a vast field, and when we say we have a session on leveraging AI for instructional design, it's very wide. The field is wide open, and so for us to ensure that to make it instructionally sound, I have listed down a few assumptions, and based on these assumptions, that's the baseline that we have, and we're going to build the session on those. Okay, so here it goes. You know your ID basics, right? We won't be covering that in this session. Obviously, I don't think I need to explain water to fish. The ID life cycle, while there are various models, of course, ADDIE being the oldest model around, there are other models as well, effective ones. The idea is that any model definitely covers these phases. It is important for us to understand this framework based on which our ID process is derived. So a good understanding of the various phases of the ID life cycle would be important. Because with the prompts, what we're going to do is ignite the process and launch a better outcome. So we're not going to go over it again. I do understand that not all our instructional projects follow the entire life cycle in sequence. Noted. But an understanding of the life cycle is nevertheless important. Comfortable with digital tools. I think that goes without saying, but still, in true blue instructional designer's style, I have placed that on the table as an assumption. AI curious. You have a basic idea of what AI is, and you're curious about how it can aid you in your design tasks. And I think that's why all of us are here. So, quality. While AI is very good at delivering quality output, it is very important for us to identify parameters that we will use to evaluate the AI output, no matter what the subject is, no matter what the content is. Okay. Again, the accountability measures of creating inclusive, diverse learning experiences would be or should be parameters too. Again, you're excited about exploring new technologies and methods. You wouldn't be here on this session otherwise. So AI is the latest gadget in your design toolkit. Now, for real, let's get started. Here are just some of the things that I have used AI for. This is not by any means a comprehensive list. It's just a representative list, illustrative at the best. So I'm going to give you a moment to read through. I use AI for triggering content. Okay, I just need a little note on a topic. I need a view. I need a perspective on something, or I need a pithy lead-in for a course. So those are the little content triggers that AI can give very well. It does very well for those things. Writing assistants, I'm sure all of us are already familiar with Grammarly and other AI tools as well. But what AI, any of the AI platforms can help you is to simplify complex concepts. Many a times, it may not even find its way into the course. Many times I use AI to simply understand the source content better. And then I may be able to, create the storyboard with better understanding. Sometimes you need a deeper context for the topic or the subject that you're working with. So AI is not only about specifically what goes into your deliverables, it's also about helping you as an instructional designer understand what to do with the content that you have. Okay, we are content agnostic, so we don't really need to become masters of the content, but we definitely need to be able to navigate the content well enough. So technical terms and jargon, accessibility. So translating these technical terms and jargon into accessible language, that's something that I've really used AI for. It has been very helpful. AI can be a good critic. So your prompt can literally be about provide feedback. You can upload your document or enter your content and ask the AI to review it as a critic and suggest alternative approaches. And it does a fairly good job. You have to be open to criticism. And content revisions for quality, accuracy, relevance. And I must, at the risk of repeating myself ad nauseum, I must say it again, that every single output from AI must be validated very, very rigorously, because AI can hallucinate. It's known for hallucinations, right? Can make up sources, make up some studies. So to avoid that, it is very, very important to have a very rigorous process for validating AI output. That said, for the most part, you do get output that can elevate your quality, accuracy, relevance of the content. Questions. It's so difficult to get the right blend of precision and creativity in framing these questions, aligning to, the questions need to justify the learning objectives. You need various types, you need various question types. And the question stem and parallelism in your options, the number of options, adhering to best practices for options and distractors. All of this is a time-consuming, I wouldn't say difficult, but it's definitely time-consuming tasks for instructional designers, but very critical. These are very critical aspects of instructional design. And here, AI can really help. So that's one area that has been extremely helpful. And taking it further, analyzing learner performance data, identifying knowledge gaps, and tailoring content. That goes without saying. Visualization. Not all of us are visual. I am visually challenged, for example. I can write, but when it comes to visualization, I am a little slow, or I may have very ambitious visualization strategies that may not be feasible for the course that I'm developing, right? So I have found a very good aid in AI for visualization developer notes. So if I write prompts that specify that, the visualization must be compatible with storyline, for example, because there are a lot of storyline templates that I may not be aware of. But when I say create a visualization for this content in the format of scenarios, in scenario block in Rise, in Articulate Rise. Now, what it does is give me the visualization notes in the exact format that would be the input for Rise. So that really saves up a lot of time for you. But where a scenario would be important, or where a scenario would be required, or where it would be relevant, again, that's your instructional designer brain that needs to decide that. But if you have identified that, AI can very well help you with the visualization notes. Same with instructional strategies. We tend to have our favorites, right? Like I have a favorite. Branched scenario is a favorite of mine. And I tend to, reuse that multiple times. Do I not know about gamification? Do I not know about other strategies? Of course I do. But at the time of storyboarding and all that, I may have, you may have reused a strategy again, or there could be a better strategy here that can be used. So it requires, you need to be able to step back and, look at the forest. Otherwise, you're too busy looking at just the tree and you tend to miss. But that's where AI can help you again in creating these instructional strategies. Again, it doesn't come out of thin air. It comes from the kind of vision or the way you steer the conversation with the AI, or what you want from the course. So there's no shortcut to that. Scenario suggestions. Of course, AI can come up with great scenarios, but here's also the point where, again, the accountability measures need to be in place, because AI is scouring the internet for most commonly used content. And what it learns is what it throws up for you, right? So there is a lot of insensitive content and a lot of stereotypical content already in the World Wide Web. And at first, it is usual for AI to pick what is most commonly available. And it's up to us to retrain the AI by ensuring that we do not accept stereotypical or insensitive content. And this is especially important when you're creating scenarios, because that's where a lot of that's the phase where a lot of stereotypes creep up. So you must be particularly aware of these things that come up during scenarios. Designing personalized learning paths. The processing all the content and the various parameters based on learner progress, preferences, all of that at once. We can create a spreadsheet and of course do it, but just that it will happen in a much, much shorter time with AI. So these are some of the things that I've used AI for, and with great success. It's been very, very helpful. So you're not just keeping up with the latest trends, we are setting them. We're trendsetters. I just want to do like a quick brief on how AI works. Again, it's common knowledge. It's not something that I'm here to teach, but again, it's just a matter of putting it in perspective. When we know how AI works, we will be able to identify how we can make it work better. So it's just that. So what happens behind the scenes? AI breaks down the prompt that you've entered, key components, specific instructions, and then it scours the World Wide Web for all kinds of databases, internet sources, retrieves information based on the parameters defined in the prompt. Okay, it is going to look for what you have defined. Then synthesis of all the content, all the data that it has gathered, and creating the output, again, based on your requirements, based on the specifications in the prompt. Okay. And then finally, what you get is a coherent, customized output. Now, why I made it a point to go through this is because this perspective helps me understand the importance of structuring your prompts, the importance of adding specificity to your prompts. So it's literally what you sow, as you sow, so you shall reap, literally so. So that's the reason why we're going through this. If we keep all of this in mind and we structure our prompts smartly, this entire process of parsing, data scouring, content generation, and delivery, the entire process can be streamlined much, much better. And what you will get is a customized output, but with higher degree of accuracy, relevance, and overall quality. So I have just made like a strong case for structured prompts here. How you can help AI work better, how you can make it work for you is with prompts, because that's all you have, but that's a lot. And with a few tweaks to the structure, you can really get fantastic output. Okay. So some key elements. Again, I must reiterate that most of these elements, everything that we're going to discuss here in this session about prompts is pretty commonsensical, actually. It's not rocket science. It's not something that I have, learned and discovered, and then I'm presenting some findings here. It's not that. It's pretty commonsensical. It is exactly how you would speak to a fresher on your team, or an assistant, or somebody who's learning from you. The learning is key here, because while AI can really execute complex tasks and generate very intricate output, it will still require your guidance, and your expertise can never be undermined by AI. So, clarity. If you're going to tell your fresher, tell me about communication, she's going to be lost. The trouble with AI is that it will not even be lost, right? Even with a wrong prompt, you will get output. It will just not be what you want, but you will get output. And if that's taken, then you're training the AI on a wrong route. So that's also another sense of responsibility that I work with when I'm using AI. Okay. So clarity, this could be a better example, right? List 3 strategies for improving team communication in a virtual workplace. Now there's something specific here, some context. The first prompt is vague. Second prompt is more direct. Context. Give me strategies for communication. It's just as vague as the first prompt. It lacks clarity as well as context. So here's a prompt. Now you have defined latest research in 2023, which means the way the AI is going to go and look for content, you have already created a funnel for it, right? So it's only going to look for latest research in 2023. And as far as while it synthesizes the data, you have given it a specific parameter of 3 strategies. Now it's going to synthesize all of that, break that down, cluster it into the relevant components, and create 3 strategies for you. And the context is team communication in a virtual workplace. So now with just in one sentence, you have given so much direction. Specificity, make a presentation about remote work. That's too vague again. Like I said, all these prompts or all these key elements that we are discussing are really commonsensical. So you will find overlaps across each of the prompts or examples. But the idea is that when you're creating, it is because we are talking about things at a generic level here, we can only take high level prompts, right? But when you're creating a storyboard or when you're creating a content outline, you're going to add a lot more detail. But the nature of your prompt or what are the things that your prompt must contain, that's what we're looking at here. Okay. So you've given it a specific task of creating a 5-slide PowerPoint presentation on the benefits of remote work, and you include statistics and case studies. So specific details definitely help guide the AI in producing a more tailored output, which will be useful to you. Otherwise, the AI will produce an output in any case, but it may just not be useful. What have we done here? We have simply said, we've broken it down into a process, and we've told the AI to say, first create a summary, then add statistics, include case studies, and be sure to cite the relevant sources. So when you break down a task into smaller steps, it helps the AI focus on each part specifically. And that way it can improve the overall quality. And then it's up to you to, tweak it, connect it, stitch them up together, or abstract only the relevant details from each segment or whatever. But when you want the core content to be robust, it's better to break it down into smaller segments and then be very specific about what you expect the AI to deliver. Constraints. AI hallucinates, of course, and by now all of us are very well aware of AI jargon. using words like delve and realm and tapestry. And you don't want that. You want your output to sound like a real person verbiage, right? Constraints help the AI narrow down and make it more focused. So constraints in terms of, a 1,000-word article. Most AI platforms do not really process numbers very well, but still you will get something roundabout there. Okay. Adding focus, saying that this is the area that you want to focus on, and be sure to include references. If you can see, I have literally said, do not make up sources, because AI does that. You have AI hallucinations, all too well known by now. Sometimes I simply say, do not lie, because I don't want AI to make up content. So, and other constraints like avoid using words delve, realm, tapestry, if there's anything that you do not want the AI to do. Now, here's where you can either add guidelines and say that write only with XYZ points in mind. You could have guidelines, or you could provide a sample and say, write in the same tone of voice as the sample provided. So there are various ways in which you can ensure that these constraints are taken care of in your prompt. Why don't you try it out? I had wanted this to be a hands-on session so that you can try it out and share how it works for you. So here's the brief. You can choose any AI interface of your preference. It could be ChatGPT, it could be Gemini, Copilot, what you will. But here's the brief. This is what you need to create. Here are the prompt structure basics. You'll define the goal. What you have here are just some examples to spark thinking. You can definitely use these prompts, or you can create something on your own. But be sure to define the goal, add context, like you have in this example. Be specific. And you can keep refining your prompts as and when you go along. So you have a prompt, and then there is an output. And then based on the output, you can talk back to your AI and refine it. Another way would be to break down the task into smaller segments and then try it out. What we can do is I just have one hands-on exercise here that we can all do together probably. So this is just one small subset of the instructional design process, which is to derive learning objectives. And just so that we can see how prompts can be refined. So if you begin with this prompt, identify key points on effective communication skills for new managers, and see what that generates. And then with every successive prompt, we will refine it and then see if you can get better output. Mm. So in step 2, we have said, identify the key points that need to be covered. Going further, we are now building on step 2. We've said, based on the key points, draft the learning objectives. And now we are asking it to ensure the objectives align with Bloom's taxonomy. Not just that they align with Bloom's taxonomy, but we are also specifying that we need the objectives to be at the application and synthesis levels. So higher order of objectives. And furthermore, we are also saying that each objective, we are determining how the objective needs to be structured. So each objective must include an action verb, the condition, and criteria for performance. Now that makes it really, really specific. And you're going to ensure measurability. So once you have that initial set of objectives aligned with Bloom's taxonomy and also with the defined structure, you now want to review and see, are they measurable enough? So how you can ask for the AI to specify how the achievement will be assessed. How is each learning outcome going to be measured? What would be we have said, identify the criteria for performance. But here we are asking the AI to identify the mode, how it's going to be assessed. And then, of course, you have a final review and alignment. Review, refine the learning objectives to ensure they're aligned with the overall goals of the training program and that they are clear, specific, and actionable. Are you getting?
We're getting lots of comments in the chat about the different prompts that people are putting in and the responses that we're getting.
Okay. Okay. Do you want me to go back to?
Yeah, I think if we could look at this slide for just a few more minutes to make sure everyone has time.
Sure.
One suggestion in the chat is that you can
Mhm.
ask the AI to help you write your prompts to get to the outcome you're
Yes,
trying to achieve.
but even for you to do that, you will need to specify what is the outcome that you're envisioning. And with all of these specifications, you can ask for the AI to write the prompt. Another way of doing it is that, I would have gone through, say, 5 or 7 iterations. And when I finally get the output that I need, or the output that I'm looking for, right? That's the right one. Then I prompt the AI back and say, what would be the best prompt that would have, that would help you generate this output? With that one prompt, I think the AI gives me the most effective prompt. So I need not have gone through, not need not, it kind of synthesizes the entire refinement that I would have done across 5 or 7 levels, and then creates one solid prompt out of it. And that gives me a good idea of the structure. And with that, I will be able to replicate the structure for other uses while changing the context or the content per se. But it gives me the structure that I need. So that's another way of doing it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead to the next one. Okay, we have some more food for thought and practice. I have just put together a short list of the typical deliverables that an instructional design process might require. And this one is based on the ADDIE model. The ADDIE model is just one of the various models that you can use. So here is a list of typical deliverables. And you have prompts, sample prompts that you can use for each of those. So another helpful thing that I have found is when you're creating a prompt, the one of the things that you can use to add specificity is to say that give me provide the output in the form of a matrix, for example, or provide the output in the form of a 3-column storyboard or something like that. So you get your format as well. So that's another helpful point of specificity that you can bring into your prompts. These are just a set of sample prompts that you can use as triggers. You can change, tweak, build on it, use these just as, initial ideas. But we've just tried to put together some sample prompts for every phase in the ADDIE model across the deliverables that were listed. And this deck will be shared, so you will have it. Shall we move over to questions?
Sure, we have a few questions. There was one question, can you use AI as an organizing tool to generate a concept map or a narrative to help you create storyboards?
Definitely. So the first sample amongst the sample prompts, the first thing that you saw was for a content outline. So you can definitely use AI for that. It does a good job of, chunking content. So if you have source content, you input your source content and then ask the AI to chunk it and create like a content map or an outline for you. The key would be the specifics that you provide, right? It could be a content worth of uh, 5 hours of training. It could be a really, really dense content input source, but you need to create a 30-minute training on it. Okay? So it's a good thing for you to specify that. So you can say specify the duration of the course that you need as part of your prompt. Ask for the most salient or the most important aspects of this content and how it can be delivered, your target audience, for whom is it? Because that will determine what the AI will parse as important, non-important, essential, good to have, must have. So all these decisions it can make based on the parameters that you set. So I believe AI can practically help you do anything that you want to in the ID space, but the key is in the parameters that you set in the specific instructions, guidelines, constraints that you provide.
Perfect, thank you. We have a request. Can you go back to the last slide for a moment, just to let everyone see those sample
Sure.
prompts again? And then we had a question, what AI platforms do you recommend? Obviously, everyone knows about ChatGPT, but do you have some favorites?
Okay. And this is absolutely just my view. There's no endorsement or anything here. So I found ChatGPT good for structuring content or even structuring deliverables, for example. I think ChatGPT does a very good job of content structuring format also. When I need descriptive content, when I want a little elaboration, a little panache, I turn to Gemini. I have found it good with narratives and writing, specific tone of voice. Those things I have found Gemini to be good. I have found Perplexity AI to be good for sources, references and sources. ChatGPT and other AI platforms are notorious for fabricating sources, but Perplexity will provide sources. So depending upon the need, I use various platforms.
Okay, thank
I
you.
don't really have recommendations, but I think you kind of build a relationship with your AI platform. The interface strikes you sometimes, or the way it responds to your prompts. That kind of determines what you go by. But I know it sounds a little dystopian, but you kind of build a relationship with the AI, almost humanizing. So
Yeah, someone in the chat said a similar thing, that they view it as like a collaborative dialogue with the AI.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, we are at time for this webinar, so thank you so
Okay.
much, Archana, for this. As we mentioned at the beginning, we'll be looking at follow-up sessions to dive deeper into these things. This was a very high level kind of setting this
Yes. Very
presentation.
high level indeed.
So we'll be looking into going into more detail in either future webinars or articles. And this was recorded. So we will be sending out the recording to everyone via email. We'll put these slides in there as well so that you can have these sample prompts and you can play with them, figure out what your favorite AI platform is and perfect these techniques. Thank you so
That's
much.
right.
Thank you, Archana, for
Thank
joining.
you.
And have a great rest of your day, everyone. Hopefully we'll see you on another webinar soon. Bye.
Bye.